SAP BW is, no different from any other technology. They also follow the same funda. Okay. Now, when we talk about landscape, it's nothing but different systems that we use as part of our different system requirements. The very minimum landscape would be a development system. Okay. Or otherwise, let me open a PPT. Uh, yeah. Okay. So go and insert some three boxes. Okay. Something like this. Now this is nothing but my development system. This is nothing but my quality. This is nothing but my production system. So this would be a very minimal landscape. Okay. So tomorrow when you want to develop something, okay, so this production is kind of a live system, which on top of which our business would be running and lots of other stuff. So doing any kind of things directly on top of a live system might be something trouble, right? So that's the reason what we will do whenever we want to start off developing a new thing or changing any existing stuff. We will start off with something called as a development system.
Yeah,
uh,
which is also called sandbox, right?
Sandbox is, yeah, sandbox. I mean, it varies basically from project to project. In general, sandbox has some different meaning. I mean, in whatever the projects I have worked on till date. Okay, but in general, a development system we would be starting off with. And if I talk in terms of BW, whatever the objects I change or develop, I will collect in something called as a transport request. Okay. Now later, development has some minimal data for testing. So in order to do some thorough testing, what we will do is, we will go ahead with something called as quality. Okay. So with quality we have good amount of data, and we would be frequently, at least a quarter or every year wise, we would be refreshing our quality data with production data, so that tomorrow if I, what is called, because production data means a live data and good amount of data, right? So with those good amount of data I would be checking some different scenarios and confirming that whatever the development I have done is good, with along with the testings. Once I am done, I would be moving the same transport request to the production system, which is nothing but the live system. So this is the very general landscape. Okay. Similarly, we have something called as a sandbox also. So in my case, in our case, what we did is, this sandbox is nothing but a replica of production system only, taken 1 week back, or 2 weeks back for our thorough testing purpose. Okay. Now you will feel when you work with sandbox, you need to assume that you are working with a live system. Then what will you do is, we will go to, we will experiment all the stuff, run the reports, do all the testing and other stuff, and test the accuracy, test the speed of the report, test the performance, all this stuff. Because tomorrow when we give the report to any end user in the production environment, we don't want to hear some anything, any surprises for him from him, like, boss, this is not working correctly, the when the executive report is taking too much of time. So all these kind of experimental things, I will do it on top of my sandbox system. Nothing but very recent copy of my production. so that I have almost all the data, all the structure in similar fashion. You got me?
Yeah. Yeah.
In couple of scenarios, what we also do is, um, we would be having multiple quality systems. Okay, so that
Right.
we will make a copy. If it's a very big project, okay, what we will do is, we will make a copy of production itself and call it as quality only. Okay, so that whatever the
Mm.
patches we are implying, whatever the development we are doing has no effect, and we want to do some kind of thorough testing. So it varies from project to project, but on as a thumb rule, we have this landscape: a development connected to quality and connected to production in general.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
entire thing is called as SAP landscape, and the same thing is equally applicable for your SAP ERP or SAP HANA or whatever it may be. Same stuff. Almost all the SAP related products share the similar kind of landscape. For example, in my current project, we are doing HANA development. Okay, so we'll do the development in development design, development environment. Then we'll move the development to the quality. We'll test their UAT, SIT, what is called. All these testings will be completed. Once done, we will be moving them to the production system. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other
Yeah.
questions? Others? So if no other questions, then we'll continue our class. Okay. So last
Mm-hmm.
couple of practical scenarios we have understood how to load the different types of different master data into BW. In first scenario, we have taken to consideration the master data with attributes. In second scenario, we have taken to consideration master data with attributes and text. Okay, now tomorrow when you want to work with this kind of master data, that is the same similar approach you will follow. Same steps, same objects, same order. Nothing difference at all. You do it 100 times, you do it 200 objects, the same process. Okay, now coming to today, so we this is how. So whenever in your requirement, whenever you have got to something like load the master data, you will follow the same approach. Okay, irrespective of the source system you work with. Now the next focus would be on the transaction data. What do I mean by transaction data? The day-to-day activities data, right? For example, I went to my bank and deposited some $1,000 today. I went to bank and withdrawn some $2,000 today. So, which means this what I'm doing with the bank, the transactions, right? So this type of data, like data on which you went to the bank, what is your customer number, what is the type of activity involved. Okay, so all these things we would be terming them as transaction data, right? And transaction data plays a very important role because the management would be very much interested in this data only. So basing on the transactions, they want to analyze how their business is running. Hey, what is my country wise revenue? What is my quarter wise revenue? What is my one sec, guys. Yeah. So we would be getting where were we? Yeah. So majority of the organizations, they would be complete the management, especially whenever they want to take some decisions, they always think about the transaction data only. Okay. So what is my customer base countries? Okay, what is my revenue? Because everything turns around revenue only, right? So what is the revenue? It's available in the transaction data. So um, uh, all of our reports, we will around 10% of our reports should be based on master data, like customer details, vendor details, material details, etc. But remaining 90% of the reports are based on transaction data. Okay, so keeping in mind the importance of the transaction data, SAP BW has also come up with a good amount of info types of info providers. So depending upon your type of requirement, you can choose the different types of info providers available over here. Okay, and one of the most commonly used info provider is called as InfoQ. Okay, and just to brief you, this is all the story before SAP introduced SAP HANA database. Before HANA database, the InfoCube is a very much optimized type of info provider for reporting purpose. Okay, so ultimately, what is the goal of loading data into my BW? Reporting only, right? So this InfoCube is a concept which is based on star schema, where we have a fact table in the center surrounded by different dimensional master data tables, and they are, all these master data tables are linked with this center fact table. That is how it is designed, right? And this design is responsible for optimizing your reporting performance, and that design is available in the form of an info cube in SAP BW. So earlier, before the introduction of HANA database, when anybody wants to load any transaction data, the first thing that comes into your mind is InfoQ. Now, after the introduction of the HANA, slowly the importance of InfoCube is declining. The reason is HANA itself is a database which is capable of holding, reading, writing, and all performance activities, right? I don't need a layer again which can take care of this. That is the reason InfoCube is going to be obsolete going forward, but not immediately. Still, we are going to use it, but not in the near future. In simple, whatever we have developed till date, let it continue, no problem. But going forward, if you're developing something, take some other different type of info provider. Okay, anyways, irrespective of whether it's going or not, InfoCube has its own importance in BW, and that is our topic for today. And as I already told you, when it will come into picture, whenever you want to load transaction data. Now, in our case also, we have successfully loaded the customer master data. We have successfully loaded the vendor master data. Now we have a scenario where I want to load the transaction data. Okay. Now, in my case, the transaction means simple, very simple. Nothing but what is called. Here I have some customers, and being a medical devices manufacturing company, I am having some products. Okay, so I would be selling these products to different customers, right? And in my case, the customers are not individual persons. There are other companies like hospitals or pharmacies or some other different areas, basically. Okay, now I am also maintaining a file which is going to store all of my transaction data, like on what date, who is the customer, which material has he purchased, what is the quantity, what is the corresponding revenue. So these details comprise of my transaction data. Okay, so the same thing I also would be covering in our case. Now, just to go back to any Excel sheet. Okay, just cancel this. No. Now, do I have any transaction data file in this system? Yeah, I have one file.
Hello, Vinay.
Yes.
I have a one question. I read somewhere that transaction data is of two type, actual and planned. What is this?
Yeah, it is more or less related to business. Okay. For example, I work for a management. Okay. Now, actual means, for example, when we were in 2018, whatever the transactions that is happening from January 1st to today is March 20, May 25th, for example. So this I will be terming them as actual data that is currently happening in my organization, which my customers are generating. Okay, now if I'm running a business, I need to have some future plans also, right? What I need to do in 2019. So how do I increase my revenue? So what I can do, what the organizations will normally do is they will come up with something called as plan data or forecast data. So they will assume something. Hey, today we are in May 2018 and we got a revenue of some $1 million, for example. Now, what are the factors that influence that $1 million? Okay. Now, tomorrow when I am 2019, definitely I need to. There is I need to. There is every chance that I need to improve my revenue percentage, right? My profit percentage, right? So now today we are 1 million, and tomorrow for the same month, May 2019, it should be some 1.3 million. So in order to convert this 1 to 1.3, what extra measures we need to take care? What extra steps? Any, so something like any new employment, opening of any new branches, okay, or branding our product in a more wide fashion, in social networking or something like that. So this type of data is called as a plan or forecast data. Okay, so basing on our existing data, I want to improve my business. So what factors is influencing me, that the management will explain to the higher level people. Okay, boss, currently we are at stage 1. Now tomorrow when you want to go to stage 2, if you implement these things, then this is the cost involved, this is the time involved, all this stuff. Then if the management approves, they will put them into reality. So that's the reason we have two type of data. One is called as actual and the planned data. For plan is also called as some forecast data, future business data. Got you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have very limited data over here, but let me quickly or otherwise I have some file in my system. Let me copy that quickly. Gayatri. Okay. Yeah. So we don't have over here. So let just me go to system. Transaction data, for example. Okay. So I will insert one more column called as UOM, unit of measurement, and another column called as currency key. So UOM is nothing but each, for example, and currency is some USD. Okay, and I'm going to add different materials also over here. Um, Customer, we have material master. Okay. Okay, so I have some set of data with respect to which going to give me the transactions information. Okay, now date, customer number, material. Okay, what quantity they have purchased and what is the revenue got generated. That is the whole intention of this what is called respect to data. Let me just make it out. Currency. Now they are maintaining the data in this format. For example, on what date, who is the customer, which material, the quantity involved, and the revenue involved in that case. Now, when you get this file, what is your first activity? You need to see what type of data they are exactly storing. Accordingly, you need to create your respective info objects, right? So now start analyzing the fields one by one. Same like how we analyzed our master data stuff. Here also we need to do the same thing. Okay. Now let's start off with the transaction date. Okay, and we are anticipating them. What is called the date to be stored in this format, especially when working with the flat files. The reason is the SAP date format is something like internally it is expecting like YYYY okay, but when we see the data it would be like this dd dot mm dot yy. This is the format. But internally, whenever we need to give in this format. Okay. So what we will do, we'll ask the management, whoever is submitting us the file, we'll ask him, hey, we are expecting the data in this format. Okay. Then how come we convert into this format? Very simple. For example, this is date. Okay, as per the system, 9/11/2015. Now I want to convert this format into this format. So what I can do? Simply select the cell, right click on it, go to format cells, okay, and here there is an option called custom. Click on custom and give whatever format you wish. What is the format I'm expecting? YYYYMMDD. Okay, so click on OK to continue. Now we can see it has been converted into the same format. 2015 is the year, 09 is the month, and 11 is the date. Okay, so the same thing here also. So this is nothing but a transaction date. So what I need to do, I need to create the table one more time. The table consists of technical name of your info object, description, okay, data type, and length. These four details. Now with respect to transaction date, you need to create, right? So what you can do, we are following the naming convention of let me log into system and see the naming convention. So we have one of our own info area, right? Like uh, where is that? Gayatri. Okay, and we are following ZLR, right? So let's follow the same stuff in preparing our file also. So ZLR T date, okay, transaction date, and I'll just copy paste the same stuff over here. Now, regarding data type, it's a kind of a date field, right? So my data type would be still be char only. Okay. Sorry, my data type, it's a characteristic object only, but internally I will have the data type as dates, DATS. Okay. And whenever we go with the date, the expected input value should be 8. Why? Because YYYYMMDD. 5YYY4, MM6 to DD is 8. So it's a by default object that would be taken care. The length would be 8. Okay. Now similarly, we need to go ahead and create customer number. But as part of our master data requirements, we already have the customer number, right? So you don't need to recreate again. You can happily use this one, not a problem. So like this, info objects are created exactly once, but used or utilized in multiple majority of your objects. Okay. Now material also we already have, so you don't need to bother. That's it. So out of these three are already defined, right? These two are already available, and that this transaction date you need to define. So we are good with the first three. Now the next one are nothing but key figures, right? So quantity followed by UOM. Okay. So how you are measuring your object, unit of measurement, right? So quantity, when you are defining the quantity itself, key figure, you need to give the respect to UOM. When you define the key figure called revenue, you need to give the corresponding currency key for it. Okay, so you need to define key figures, right? So what I can do, Z L L R Q T Y, quantity. Okay, and whenever I have quantity object to be saved, then in BW I have a data type called quan. Okay, now similarly I will use that one. Similarly, ZLR revenue. Okay, so your revenue, and whenever I'm doing using something money or something like that, then I would be having a data type called as amount. anything money related, something like money, amount, profit, loss, or balance sheet statement, or whatever it may be, this kind of currency related stuff you want to use, then you would be using something called as amount. Okay. And this currency is a part and parcel of this revenue, right? So you don't need to define it again and again. So like this, out of these 7 objects, going to define these 3 objects because these two are already available, and this UOM and currency are part and parcel of your key figure definitions. Okay, so fine, my objects are good. Then now I can log into BW, and as the first thing, I need to create these info objects and keep them ready to be used in my other info providers. Okay, and so now log into your BW, go to info object section, go to your info area for Gayatri, and we have again 2 sections, right? One is the info object catalog for characteristics, second one is the info object catalog for key figures. Okay, now one characteristic you need to define, right? So control C, copy, create info object, give the technical name, give the description, click on OK to continue, and you know what to give over here, date, right? So we'll go with the dates over here. And this is what I was telling. Whenever you go with the date, the default data type would be of length 8 over here. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and activate your date info object. Once activated, now you need to define the other 2 key figures, right? Quantity and revenue. So right click on key figure info object catalog, click on create info object, and you can see create key figure. Okay, and you already have the technical names, right? So control C, control V. Okay, now click on OK, and this is awake. Okay, already some object is available, so I will go with the ZLR QT1 for example. Okay, so click on OK to continue. Now this is how your key figure will look like. Okay, you can see the different data types: amount, quantity, number, integer, date, and time. Okay, now your object is a quantity, right? So just select the option called quantity over here, and whenever you select the type as quantity, in the bottom you can see the data type the system is pointing to as quan, and that is what I was referring in my sheet over here, quan. So whenever you have quantity to be saved, definitely you will go with the data type as quan over here, and type as quantity, and data type as quan over here. Okay, fine. Now fixed int of, so because it's a key figure, right? Every key figure should and must have a corresponding unit associated with it. I went to a store and purchased 1 kg of tomato. If I remove that kg, what is that one? Are you purchasing 1 kg of tomato, or 1 quintal of tomato, or one tomato? What exactly is that we're referring to? That key figure has a meaning only when it is associated with the quantity only, right? Yeah, this guy has purchased 1 kg of tomato. So that tomato is a characteristic. One is the what is called the union data, or the data associated with the key figure. Okay. Now, whenever you go with the key figure, that's it. I'm done with my key figure definition. Okay, just to click on activate button. The object is not getting activated. In the bottom it is throwing an error message stating that Hevinai, enter either unit info object or fixed currency. So it is asking you, since you're defining a key figure, it should have definitely having a corresponding what is called a corresponding unit. It is asking you. Okay, now in the case of a key figure, I can go with the fixed UOM or variable UOM. Fixed UOM, which means, for example, I will go to petrol bunk and have 5 liters of petrol in my bike, 10 liters of petrol in my bike, 2 liters of petrol in my bike. So every time my petrol is definitely measured only liters only, right? With respect to liters only, no other alternative way, right? So I mean, every time you're doing the same activity, right? So that is the case. We can happily go with this concept of what is called fixed UOM. So when you are sure that you are doing your business with only one UOM all the time, you can go with this fixed UOM. Okay, now when I click on this fixed UOM, you can see F4 help over here, click on it. It will show you all the possible entries that you can put over here. So where are these possible entries, all values coming from? Let me open another session. Go to SE11. Whenever you want to view table, you will go to SE11, right? SE11. Give a table name called T006A. So whenever you come across any table name starting with a T in SAP, those are called as standard tables to store some standard information like company code information, profit center information, language information, currency information, UOM information, all these kind of system related language information. All these would be stored in some or other T star tables. And in some way, similar fashion, T006A is a standard table for what is called storing a language keys information, UOMs information. Okay, now click on active button. Okay, now click on execute. You can see the third column is nothing but your UOM, and you can have these all these different UOMs for your requirement. So who would be responsible for maintaining this data? The management team, not as end user, not the BW developer or something like that. This data management is done by the management of our organization, who would be deciding, hey, for our products, what would be the possible UOMs? They would be putting only those UOMs only, not all the UOMs. Okay, so when you do load any data or something like that, your data should belongs to one of these UOM. If you give your own object, the load will fail, stating that, boss, this is not available in our list, so we cannot load the data. Okay, so this is what it is. Now whenever you want to go with fixed, when I'm sure that I'm doing only one type of UOM all the time, you can go with this fixed. But you went to a supermarket and you purchased 1 kg of tomato, 2 liters of Pepsi, okay, 2 kgs of oil, onions, one pair of slippers, uh, 1 dozen of eggs, which means I am doing my business over here with multiple UOMs. I am purchasing products with multiple UOMs, right? So if that is the case, then you need to use a keyword called zero unit. And yesterday I was telling, right, whenever I come across zero, means it is a SAP defined object. So in simple, every key figure should have a fixed value or variable value. When you go with the fixed, it would be fixed all the time. Same UOM would be used throughout your system for this info object. And whenever you want to go variable, like sometimes each, sometimes case, sometimes pack, whatever it may be, then you will go with something called as a zero unit. Okay, done. Then go ahead and activate your info object. Now we can see for good, now it is activating, and you can see your object status is active. And similar lines, create another key figure called revenue. Right click on over here, click on create info object. Okay, here go with the ZLRREV. Okay, so revenue, click on OK to continue. Some object is there, so let's go to revenue one, ZLRREV1. Okay, now whenever you go with the revenue amount, right, so make sure the type is amount, and whenever you are selecting amount, you can see the data type is a CURR, and that is what I was referring in the file. Whenever you are choosing amount, the data type is, sorry, it's not amount, it's CURR. Okay, so select this as amount and cur, and whenever you are going with the currency, you can see you need to give either fixed currency or variable currency. So here click on this. So these are all the currencies that the organization will do the business with. All these currencies are supported. Okay, so somewhere around 218 different currencies. So when you do the business tomorrow also, your data would be with any of one of these currencies mandatorily. Again, the SAP management team is responsible for maintaining the data over here. Okay. Now, if you are doing your transactions only on a single currency all the time, you can go with a fixed currency. And what is the backend table involved? TCURC. TCURC. If you are using variable currencies for your requirement, then you can go with the unit variable currency over here. And same like unit, here also zero currency. Enter. So this way, now this is eligible to store literally any type of currency that's available in your table list. Okay, all good. Go ahead and activate your info object. So with this, what I supposed to see, all these info objects, right? All are created. So you further no need of requirement of it, just to close it. So all the corresponding info objects are available, right? Now you can go ahead and create your info cube structure, which is primarily used to store my day-to-day transaction data. Okay, now go to the info provider section over here. Now right click on info area for Gayatri and click on the option called this option. Where is that? Info queue. We learned what is info area, right? It's a one-time activity. Now info queue. So click on info queue. It will prompt you with a technical name and a description. So in BW, every object has a technical name which is used to uniquely identify it, right? Okay. So it also will going forward the same approach. So Z ZIC underscore Gayatri. Okay. So info cube for Gayatri. In real time, we'll go with the info queue for sales data, info queue for sales header data, info queue for sales item level data, something like that. Individual names basing on our source system name, we are going to give over here. Okay. Now once all good, give the info cube technical name, the description, and click on create button. Okay. Now when you click on the create button, you can see whatever the name you have given, the technical name and the description over here. Okay, and now I'm creating info queue which is used to store my transaction data, right? So tomorrow, whenever transaction data is coming into picture, I may be doing in my reporting in my HANA system also, right? For better performance and other stuff. Now I want to create a corresponding HANA analytical view also in the HANA system. Then in the settings tab, I can happily go ahead and check this option called external SAP HANA view. If I go and check this option, system will create a corresponding analytical view for me. Later it's up to myself, like what I can do with that analytical view. Can I convert into calculation view or do it, or use the similar fashion? It's up to you depending upon your requirement. Okay, now the third onwards, you see the dimensions. Before I go to the dimensions, let's revise what we learned with the concept called star schema. What was the star schema? A fact table in the center surrounded by dimension tables. What does your fact table consist of? The transaction data. What does your dimension table consist of? Master data. Why
Master
I,
data.
yeah, why I would be clubbing both my transaction and master data? For my better reporting, right? I want to analyze my data from other angles also, apart from whatever I am having in transaction data file. I can do by default reporting, but apart from that I also need some other details of customer, some other details of material, etc. Then definitely going ahead with what is called the master data is good. I mean, embedding your transaction data with the master is a good solution, right? That is the reason in majority of the cases, in almost all the data warehousing solutions available in the market, everybody will follow this star schema concept. Even SAP HANA also. So Charlie, if you remember today, yesterday's class, I was creating a star join wherein I embed the transaction data with the respect to master data, right? So what I was doing over there, simply nothing but a star join creation only, right? So that's the reason, irrespective of the technology you work with, like SAP HANA or BW or Informatica or Tableau, whatever it may be, ultimately a system would be designing a star scheme of based on the structure you give, the whatever the details you give, it will create a star schema for you. So InfoCube will also follow the same funda, right? So that's the reason you can see that the folder called dimensions. So here is the place where we are going to add of all of our characteristic objects. Okay, and in the bottom you see something called as key figures, right? So it is the place where we are going to give the key figures. Now when I give all these characteristics plus the key figures and activate, system will create a table for me with all of the characteristics what I have given and the key figures what I have given. So in this case, for example, I am giving 3 characteristics and 2 key figures. So with those 5 fields, the system will create an InfoCube table for you, so that when you load the data tomorrow to the InfoCube one, it would be physically storing its data. Okay, fine. Now expand dimensions. I'm using this button to expand the screen, okay, so that I can view only InfoCube definition. Now, when I expand the dimensions, you see 3 subfolders. So these are called as dimensions basically. The first dimension is the data package, the second dimension is the time, third one is the unit. And see the naming convention of your dimensions. S- uh, sla, um, ZIC underscore GAY and GAYAP, then followed by T, then followed by U, then followed by 1. So the first 3, nothing but a package, time and unit dimension, are called as the system defined dimension tables, which stores the system relevant information. For example, the calendar, what is called time dimension is there. There we can all add all the characteristic objects like time related one, like a calendar day, calendar month, calendar quarter, calendar week, all this stuff. Okay, now the data package dimension is used by the system for its internal purpose. We don't have nothing to do over there. Now just now we got to understand about the time, and the next one is the units. So in your InfoCube definition, what are the key figures you are using? All those having would be having units, right? So those units would be saved in those units dimension table. Okay, so P for system purpose, T for time characteristics, and what is the other one? U for unit dimensions. And in the bottom it is again starting with 1 2 something like that, right? So these are called as the user defined dimensions. Okay, and to go into brief details about this InfoCube, every InfoCube every InfoCube can have a maximum of 16 dimension tables embedded to it. 16 dimension tables. Okay, and out of which you already see 3, right? Package, time and unit. So these are things are called as what is called standard dimension tables, which means already available. Okay, standard dim tables. What are those? Your InfoCube name followed by P, InfoCube name followed by T, InfoCube name followed by U. And out of 13, out of 16, 3 are already standard, so you can ignore them. How many are we left with for our creation? Remaining 13, right? So 13 are called as user defined. So you can create, you can create and attach a 13 different dimension tables to one InfoCube. Okay, so what is the naming convention of that? InfoCube name 1, InfoCube name 2, InfoCube name 3, InfoCube name 4, like that to 9. Okay, after 9 it will go and give a naming convention A, then B, C, D. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 9 plus these 4 13, right? So 13 are the user defined dimensions you can create and store your relevant objects. Okay, and each and every dimension table can hold 249 objects, which means 249 characteristic info objects, and you are able to create 13, right? So 13 into 249, how much? 13 into 249, 3237. So these 3237 ways we can analyze our data if we organize in terms of a star schema concept or this info cube concept. Okay, so that is the major benefit if you design a star schema. Have one transaction data table and embed it with multiple master data tables. And whatever that master data tables, you can view them at the runtime and display the output in the report. So in our case also, we have transaction date, one of the characteristic object. We have customer number, material number also as a characteristic objects, right? So we can go ahead and create our own 3 dimensions, or we can create one and embed all of this stuff. In the real time, how the things work is we are going to segregate this info areas according to the different factors. For example, all the customer related stuff like customer country name, customer number, sold to party, or any other related stuff, I will go with the what is called uh, one dimension customer and all the details embedded into it. And tomorrow one more dimension called what is called material, all material. And one more dimension called organizational, all profit center, cost center, distribution channel, division, all these you can embed into the third one. Like this, depending upon your different requirements and different stuff, we would be getting multiple dimensions. In our case, we have very simple data, right? 3 columns and three characteristics, 2 key figures. So you can go ahead and create 3 different dimension tables, not a big deal. Okay, and add those characteristic objects. So all the characteristic objects we need to add to the data source info cube layer, and the key figures into the key figure section. So I will log into the system now and create my 3 dimensions, user defined dimensions. These 3 I cannot do anything, and from fourth one, nothing but dimension 1 onwards, I can start using them. Okay, creating them. Now this dimension 1 is nothing but what is called user defined, right? You can change the properties of it, you can change the name of it, so that it might be more meaningful. Okay, now right click on your dimension 1 and click on the option called info object direct input, sorry, go to properties of it. Okay, and here I am going with something called as time um, or transaction date details, right? So transaction date details. Okay, now one I was successfully able to change the name of one dimension table. Okay, and it is starting with the 1. Like this, you want to create a couple of more dimension tables, right click on dimensions and click on the option called create new dimension. Okay, now this is dimension 2, and here I want to store the material details. Similarly, right click again one more time, create dimension, and click on the option called customer details. Okay, now all of my details are ready. Then I need to start adding my objects, right? So SAP has given a very simple way of adding these objects into this one. Okay, so in the left side part of the screen you see a small icon over here on top of it, nothing but your info object catalog. So what does your info object catalog consist of? Your info objects only, right? And you can use those info objects in the definition of your info cube only, right? So now you can start adding all those objects one by one into the info cube definition. Okay, so open your info area. Open your info object catalog, and you can see characteristics and key figures. I want to go with the char, expand it, and you can see all of your objects, whatever you defined so far. Out of which I'm interested in what is called in filling all of these details, right? For example, transaction date details. I want to add the transaction date. Okay, so simply drag and drop the transaction date over here. Very simple way. When you drag and drop, you can see the date is coming over here. Similarly, for custom material, drag and drop material and put over here on top of the dimension. If you expand, you can see your material number. I want to put the customer details. So customer number, right click on it, copy, and right click on info cube and click on insert. This way also we can do. Like this, whatever available in the transaction data, we would be adding them one by one into the respective dimension tables or master data tables. Now once this is done, you need to add the key figures part. Okay, so go back to info object catalog one more time. Key figures, key figures, and here you need to add the key figures over here in the box. Okay, so what you can do, simply select both of them in one shot, drag and drop, what we can create. Okay, that's it. Whatever that comprise of my file, all of my objects are now available in info cube definition, right? You are good. My management is also interested in, because there's a transaction data, right? So my manager is also interested in understanding this report in terms of calendar year wise or calendar month wise or quarter wise or whatever it may be. Then better if you have the time characteristics also in your report, right? So the prerequisite for using this time characteristics is at least we need to have one date field, so that we can map the date field to this calendar year, calendar month, etc., and derive these respective objects. So that now I can see what is my calendar year wise revenue, calendar month wise revenue, something like that. Which means in simple, you are leveraging your existing object with the help of master data, right? So that is the importance of the master data. Create the structures one time, load them with the data, and parallel load them the transaction data also, and use it for your analysis purpose. In this also, I want to add the two time characteristics. So where I can add the two time characteristics, in the time dimension. Okay, and also if you see, when you added the quantity and revenue, what is the corresponding UOMs? Zero unit is zero currency, right? You can see both of them got actually automatically added into the units dimension over here. Okay, similarly you need to add the calendar features also, time characteristics, but I don't know, right, where they are currently available. So what I can do, if you know the technical names of your object, right click on your time dimension and you can see one option called info object direct input. We can add the objects in this way also. First case we can drag and drop, second case right click on it and copy and paste over here, and the third case we can simply put that into what is called into the time dimension and leave it. Okay, now simply right click on it, click on info object direct input. In if I go with another session in SAP, we have something called as a time dimension objects. Okay, and let's go to just RSA1 one more time. Go to find button over here and type a word called zero cal. Whenever I'm starting with the zero means SAP defined object, zero cal star, and click on info objects over here. Search. And you can see these are all the different info objects we have currently in our system for your what is called time activities. You can say zero cal day, zero cal year, zero cal month, quarter, week, whatever you wish. Okay, now in my report I want to also analyze my data based on calendar month and calendar year wise data. So what I can do, calendar year, right? So copy zero cal year technical name, one sec guys. Okay, sorry guys, call from mom, so definitely need to attend. Yeah, so I have calendar here, right? So zero cal here, copy and copy paste over here. Just click on refresh. You can see calendar here. Okay. Similarly, so if you don't know like where your info objects are there, you can just directly give this way also in the info object direct input. If you know where they are exactly, you can simply drag and drop. Drag and drop. If you don't know, you can take the other route also. So like this, you need to prepare your info cube definition with all the necessary fields and whatever that part of your info cube definition, these are available objects in your reporting layer. Tomorrow when you are doing any kind of Lumira reporting or Webby or Business Explorer, all these objects will be part and parcel of your report. Now basing on these objects, you can create the template of your report. Okay, because this is our first info cube. Let's keep it simple only, not to make it too complex. That's it. With this I am done with my info cube definition. Then I can simply go ahead and activate my info cube. Add all the necessary dimensions, add all the necessary key figures and activate. Okay, so my objects are in active condition now. And you can see when you when you expand your screen in your info area, you can see the info queue for Gayatri over here. The definition is now ready. So with this, I am done with the creating of info provider like our customer number or material number. Now what is my next step? Similar lines of the customer number and other, here also I need to go and create my data source. Okay, make sure that you are in the corresponding data source system. What is my source system that we were using? Flat file, right? So flat file. Now in the flat file, what was our info application component? Gayatri. Now right click on it and click on data source. Now this data source type, you need to decide basing on your target type, right? Earlier your scenario was a master data with attributes, you can go with attributes. Earlier it was text material, you can go to text. Now transaction data, right? So I have transaction data over here. Okay, so give some meaningful name to your data source. So same, follow the same naming convention. ZDS underscore Gayatri underscore, sorry, Gayatri underscore trans underscore data, for example, transaction data. Okay, now click on okay to continue. Yes. Okay, now expand the screen and give your data source definition. So give some meaningful description to it. Transaction data. Okay, now copy short description, medium and long. Okay, now go to extraction over here and here you know what to do. Header rows to be, we need to give the file name over here. So this is the one place, or I can give it the info package level also. It's up to me. So now header rows to be ignored one. Change the file data format to CSV, and whenever you're changing it to CSV, change the separator to comma over here. That's it. Nothing to do in the proposal. Go to the fields tab and create your data source table now. And you are aware that the data source table or PSA table should be in 100% sync with our source table or source file. What do I mean by sync? In my source file, the data is arranged in a particular manner, right? Like in a particular order. You also need to create add your definition also in the same order, which means transaction date should be your first column, customer number would be a second column, all it. And we have the corresponding data info objects already available, right? So you can happily use them. So go to another session, go to your info objects and open your info objects and keep them ready. What is your first transaction date, right? So copy the transaction date, enter. copy the properties. Okay, click on plus 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 to add multiple rows, so that we have everything ready. Okay, now what's the second column? Customer number, right? So what is the customer number info object? Customer number. Enter. What is the third one? Material number, right? Material number. Enter. Okay, now I'm done with my master info characteristic objects. Later what I have, quantity and revenue, right? So add quantity. What is your quantity info object? Quantity. Okay, give the quantity, click on enter. Whenever you're entering quantity, quantity has been associated with the unit, right? So you can see the 0 unit automatically getting populated, because you, while defining your quantity, you are given 0 unit, right? That's the reason. Similarly, go ahead and give your revenue, next. Revenue, click on enter. Okay, you can see your properties available like this. Yeah, like this, all of your data is now in the sync with your source system also, source table also, right? So they are perfectly available. Simple. So simply go ahead and activate your data source. So when I click on activate, what the system will do, it will simply create a table for me with a similar structure, and that table is called as a PSA table. Okay, so with this step I am done with my activate my data source definition. Now I want to see the table. Click on this hammer symbol, attribute properties. Okay, and you can see the table name. And for this table, there is no standard naming convention. The system will not create some random number, it will give. Okay. Now in my info provider, my info cube is ready. In my data sources, my data source is ready, right? So what is my next step? I need to establish a connection between these two objects, and that is achievable by a concept something called as transformation. So select your object, source object, go to your info provider, right click on your info cube, click on create transformation. Okay, now target of the transformation is info cube, and the source of the transformation is data source. And what is your data source name? Copy paste. And what is your source system? Flat file. You can see the details over here also on the top. Okay, now click on OK to continue. Target is not active. Why? Did we change anything or what? Let me go over here, info cube. Let me activate it. Okay, all good, right? Now it is good. So now right click and now give the details. Or otherwise, let me just redo it. Okay, so just go back. Yeah, in this screen I will do. Right click, create transformation, data source, give the technical name, give the source system name, click on OK. Okay, now all good. Now my transformation has been created by the system, and my transformation is now consists of two parts. One, the left side is nothing but my data source, and right side is nothing but my info cube definition. And you can see that the mapping between the source fields and the target fields has been done automatically by the system. Why? Because we are using the same set of info objects in both the definitions, and that is the beauty of the info objects. Create them for one time and use it for your n number of your developments. Okay, and that way you can ensure uniqueness, you can ensure no property is missing. All good, right? So that is the reason. And you also observe that for that cal year and cal month we don't have any mapping from the source. Why? Because these objects are not available in the source. Now these objects you would be deriving them with the help of the available source objects. And as I was already telling, whenever you want to use any character, any time characteristic, the minimum prerequisite is you need to have one date column in your source. Date on which record was created, date of birth, date of manufacturing, date of expiry, some date should be there. Basing on that date, you can derive these objects. So now what I will do is, I will simply select my transaction date and map it with the cal year. I will again select this one and map it with the cal month, which means one single source object I am mapping with multiple target objects. Okay, so one single source object mapping with multiple target objects. Now you can see when it is going this way, it is nothing but as is format. What date I have?
Hello,
That,
Zuna.
yes.
Hello, hello. Can you explain these 2 points again? Last
Yeah,
2 points,
yeah,
calendar, year, and
yeah. I'm telling the same thing. Okay. Now, when I just map, when I'm going this way, first one with first one, it is nothing but in as is format. How the date is there in my source object, the same data I'm copy pasting over here. Now, when you're taking the calendar year, when we map the date, so date would be the input, and because it's a calendar year and zero cal year, right, which means SAP defined object, so it has the logic internally written automatically for it. So when I map with the date, which means my incoming value is a date, but my outgoing value would be only a year. And you can see the data type also, it is of type numc4. What is your year? 4 digits only, right? So numc4. Now you want proof? Then since right click on your calendar here and you can see some option called test rule also. You can test your object. For example, give any date and see what's the year. Let's give today's date for example. Okay, if we give for example today's date, uh, May 24th, 2018. Okay, now click on execute. You can see 2018 year over here. Assume I have given some 2020 data. You can see 2020 is the year. So internally the logic is already available for you, and that is the reason it's called a zero cal year standard object. Okay, now similarly when you map it with month also, it will give the month and date in the similar format. What does your month and date consist of? 2 digit month, 4 digit year, right? 6 digits, right? So 6 digits. Okay, so like this one object you can map with the multiple source objects also wherever required. Are you clear, Gayatri?
yes, fine.
Okay, so in simple, in SAP
Okay.
BW will never derive our own time characteristics. We'll always use this one and map it with the relevant source objects, as simple as that. Okay, now once done, once you feel like the transformation is good, every other mapping is good, then simply go ahead and activate your transformation. Okay, so with this you can see my data flow is ready, my info cube, my data source, and the transformation is used for mapping between these two. Okay, I want to see the data flow. Right click on info cube, click on display data flow over here, click on OK to continue, and you can see your object available over here, the data flow, a very high level information. Now I want to load my data, same like yesterday. I will again take the help of two objects, the info package and DTP. Info package till data source layer and DTP till info cube layer. Okay, I have all my file ready, right? So simply go ahead and save it. File, save as this PC, Gayatri. Okay, and click on save button. Yes. Okay, so now you can see your file is ready over here. Now your file is ready. Now go ahead and create an info package and load till data source layer. Same like yesterday, right click on your data source, create info package and give the description to it. So transaction data, right? Transaction data. Okay, click on enter, and here you know what to do. Nothing to do in the data selection. Go to extraction tab, and you need to give the file name over here. Go to desktop, Gayatri, transactions. Okay, select the file path. Nothing to do in the processing, nothing to do in the update. Go to schedule and start your job. Before scheduling, ensure that the file is closed. Okay, so that it will not throw you error message. When you open the file and we'll try to load over here, it would be of the impression that you are changing something with the file, so it will throw you an error message. That is file open error message. You cannot load that. Okay, make sure that your file is closed, and if all good, you can just simply go ahead and click on start button. It's asking me the permission to access the file. Please go ahead. Now you can see the data was requested. Ensure that you'll get a message called data was requested. Okay, now once you see this message, on the top you see a small symbol called a monitor to see the status of your job, and you can see your 19 records got loaded. You want to see your data? On the top you see a small symbol called a PSA. Click on it. Click on OK, and you can see your entire data over here. You want to do any kind of preliminary testing before you move on to higher level targets? Yes, you can do. Always we'll compare with our totals, right? If your totals are matching, then we can at least be confident, yes, all good. Then I'm focused on my revenue, so select your column revenue and click on the summation. Okay, and you can see the total it is showing is 10,450. Go back to your file and see whether it still holds good with your file also. If good, that means the load has been successfully completed. Now go to revenue over here, and you can see 10,450, and our data source also it is 10,450. Okay, so we are good. Now load this data into a higher level target. Okay, so right click on DTP, create a DTP to load the data from data source to your DTP, your target. What this DTP will do, basing on your transformation mapping, it will load into the target. So click on OK to continue. Activate your DTP before you run it. Okay, same like yesterday. Right click on data source, go to manage button, and you can see one pending request over here, 3436, and it is red color, which means it is telling you that Vinay, this data is available but not yet load into the target. Not yet. Okay, now you need to load into the target. So what do the system, what do DTP will do? It'll come and check, hey, how many requests are there? One. Already loaded? No. Then this will take into consideration 3436 number, and how many records are there? 19 records. All these will be now put into your target. Okay, now open your DTP, go to execute, and execute it. Click on yes. Okay, and see, you can see 19 records it is reading. Keep on refresh until your job completes. My job has been completed and in this green color. Okay, now go to header, and you can see the request number 3436 and the total number of records 19. And because the load has been now completed, if you go back to your data source, you can see the symbol has been changed to green color. So these are the functionality works, especially when loading the data, irrespective of whether it is a master or transaction. Okay, now all good. Then what is the whole purpose? Data is available in InfoCube, right? You want to see your data, so display data. This is called as a selection screen. If you wish, you can filter your data, or otherwise field selection for output. Select all characteristics, whatever you wish. Execute and execute. and you can see the respective output. Okay, and just for cross confirmation one more time, select the revenue column and click on summation, and you can see 10,450, which means my InfoCube data is now in perfect sync with my file data. So which means my design has been good, my development is good. Okay, now you can see all of your data. Now the transaction date, material number, customer number. These three are nothing but called as technical characteristics, technical attributes that would be loaded as part of your loading process. Out of which this request ID is important, because every time you load, the system will generate a unique request ID. So today I loaded 3 times, 3 different request IDs. Tomorrow 5 times, 5 different request IDs. So that every load, this request ID would be helpful for us to uniquely identify your load. Okay, and you can see the calendar month over here, year and month. Even though in the system it is displaying in this fashion, but in the report level it will show you as a month dot year, something like that. And if you see the next one, only year, depending on the date the year would be calculated, right? You can see the date is 20, the year is 2013, year also 2013, yeah, 2014, 2014. Okay, and you can see the corresponding quantity and the revenue and the key figure. So like this, what I will do now for my unit testing, I will take into consideration a couple of customer numbers and see the totals over here, 150, 200, and I'll go back to my file and see the same. If they are stuff, if they are same, I'll take a screenshots of both the stuff, paste it, and complete my unit testing. And if I want to test the complete data set, I can highlight this 10,450, and I can highlight the same 10,450 in Excel sheet and confirm the test results. Was whatever available file is available in your BW, and your data is good for reporting. Now on top of this info cube, same like yesterday, we can open the query designer or Lumira or Webby or analysis for office, whatever you wish. Open the respective tool and do the reporting. And all these characteristics and the key figures, which are part and parcel of your InfoCube definition, would be available for your reporting. Okay, so that's it about InfoCube, guys. So there are some other factors also that we need to learn. So it will again take one hour more. Okay, so we will continue in our
Vinay,
next class. Yeah.
Vinay,
Yes.
please, I have one question.
Yes, please.
There is two type of analysis for Office,
Hmm.
Excel and PowerPoint.
Yes.
Which one do you mean?
Excel sheet. Don't go with PowerPoint. PowerPoint
Oh,
is
Excel
for
sheet.
yeah, for analysis office. For Excel, we'll go with
That means we are using most of the time with Excel sheet.
Excel sheet. Whenever you want some charts or
Okay.
something like that, you'll go with the PowerPoint.
Depending on the project
Depending
or the
upon your
company.
reporting output, what your expectation, we'll choose the
Okay.
respective tool.
Okay. But the most used is Excel sheet, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so like this, for every transaction data requirement, for example in my SAP ERP, there are some 50 to 60 different transaction data tables which is holding sales data, finance data, HR data, plant data, and lots of other stuff. So for each and every table, I would be creating an info cube like this and storing my data over here. Where required, I
Hello,
will combine and show the data at the report level.
hello, Vinay.
Yes.
Can we continue tomorrow? I have another class also.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting late.
Yeah, sure, sure. Which training you're undergoing? Other one?
I'm taking Deutsch classes.
Acha, acha, okay, okay, okay. Carry on then. We'll continue. And by the way, tomorrow we are don't class. We'll meet again on Monday. Okay. So
Okay,
tomorrow I'm
fine.
going out.
Okay.
So we'll meet again on Monday. Yeah.
Is it for enjoyment, Vinay?
No, no, no. Actually, I have some personal work. So usually when
Because
there
you
are no
asked.
classes, then only I will go with enjoyment.
No,
Otherwise,
I'm joking. I'm so
yeah, yeah,
joking
I
here.
understand. I understand. That is what I am also telling. No enjoyment in my life.
Okay,
So
me too.
morning till evening,
Please.
sit in front of the system
Mhm.
and shout like anything.
Okay. Please, if you don't mind,
Uh-huh.
you send all the recording,
Yeah.
please.
I will definitely send it today. I will search for those
Yeah,
recordings. I will send it
and
so that you can
and
utilize your time
for
on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah.
And Sunday.
yeah, for the open, for me personally, for the open view and composite for me, please.
Sure. Definitely.
Yeah, so I can have a
I'll
look.
upload and I'll upload and intimate you via email. These are the recordings you can go through.
Okay. I mean, for the composite provider, ODS